Hello there, I am Mike of Neil of Dice, and this is Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. I've been playing this for a few episodes now, and I thought I'd actually give a more or less an actual review of the game. Uh, I really like this game. I am actually very, very impressed with this. This came out in 2004, it came out at the same time and using the same engine as Half-Life 2. It used the new facial animation system of the Source engine to really, really good effect. And it is a really in-depth and interesting action RPG that I've been having an awful lot of fun with. What I really particularly like about it is the writing and the depth. There's an awful lot of plot here to discover. There's a lot of really good writing. There's a lot of really good voice acting, which goes very well with the facial animation system that was being used. So, you don't just get the voice acting. You actually get something resembling an actual performance out of these non-player characters. There are a lot of interesting quests. I'll just have a quick look at quests that I have done. So I've done completed a few in downtown. But if you look at Santa Monica, look at all this stuff that I've been getting up to, ranging from murder investigations, tracking people. I did a bit of exorcism, although you can see down here in the failed column, I actually failed to do the exorcism because I chose the wrong dialogue options when I handed it in. And that's just there are these two areas, but there are another two areas for me to find, which I haven't got to yet. So that's kind of cool. A lot of very varied things to do. Most of the issues that you come across, the problems you come across, have more than one solution, which they kind of have to do, because looking at my character sheet here, I have got an awful lot of options in how I put my character together. As I gain experience points, I could put up my disciplines, which are my vampire powers. I could put my abilities, which are essentially skills, even though only one of them is actually called skills. But I could put up my brawl and solve my problems by punching them. I could put up security, so I'm really good at lockpicking, and therefore I don't need to find some of the keys that otherwise I'd have to find. Or I can put up my stats, so because each of these stats makes me good at a whole bunch of different things. And here are the areas that I'm good at. So these are all things I can choose to be good at. And through that is going to mean that the game has to take into account an awful lot of different ways of me approaching the game. And that's not even taking into account, why are you carrying your gun out? That doesn't even take into account the fact that because I'm one of the 7 clans, I'm a Toreador, I have got a specific set of disciplines, Auspex, Dominate, and Thaumaturgy, which somebody else, a different player, if I had answered the questions right at the beginning of the game differently, I might end up with a completely different set of. I might be a different clan. I could have been Bruyar, who are like rebels and shouty people, and they've got a completely different set of disciplines. And thus, the way they're going to solve their problems is going to be different. And the power, because they're going to have different powers and different, strengths and weaknesses. There's a really good dialogue system, which gives you all sorts of different options. I can give you other options depending on whether or not you've got particular disciplines, or even just if you're just really good at persuading people, you'll get different options. The voice acting is really good. I really like the voice acting. I think I've said that already. The writing, the voice acting, together with the facial animations, are really good. You can completely fail quests, which I actually like the fact that you can fail a quest. You're not on rails. You've got a lot of options within what is otherwise a fairly limited. This particular area of the town is not that big. I'll quickly nip over here and get a map. This is the map of Santa Monica, which is one of the 4 areas you can go to. Not including them, there's at least a few extra special areas, which are their own little thing. Like the haunted house I went to is its own little special area. But there's only, 14 buildings I can actually go to in this little area. But I can go to all of those 14 areas. And, there's each of those has got stuff I can do. And then there's 4 areas which all seem to be about the same size as this. That's kind of neat. I like this. There's some really good some of the quests are really well written and have really interesting twists to them, which is always a good thing. There's real strangeness down here. Like I think it was a second or third episode, third episode. I met this guy, the Gimbal's prosthetics. Why are you coming down from there? Where you discover that there's someone down here who's deeply, deeply weird and scary. And he's human. He's not a vampire at all. He's just weird. There are strange things about nightclub owners that you discover. There are death cultists, and there are there's factions, all sorts of different factions with their own individual agendas, and individuals within those factions who've got their own agendas. There's all the different clans who've got their own agendas. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to do, and there's a lot to find out, and a lot to explore, which I think is all pretty nifty. I need a ride, yeah, just drive. Let's go downtown. Have a quick look at downtown. Now, the part of the richness of all the background is because this is based off an actual role-playing game, a tabletop role-playing game, Vampire the Masquerade. So they're able to use all that background as texture, and it's really, really rich and lovely. Thank you, driver. This is downtown. This is the second of the environments that you can go to. Now, I think what can come across is the graphics are very dated. A certain amount of this is, like I said, this is the same engine that produced Half-Life 2, but if you compare Half-Life 2's graphics, Half-Life 2 has much better graphics. It looks a lot better than this. But part of that, I think, is that simply when they made Half-Life 2, and they knew full well they were completely changing the graphics engine, and in many ways changing the way you make graphics for games and levels for games. So this kind of style, you can just see how polygonal things like those lights and things are. The general way characters are being animated belongs to the generation just before Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 was one of those engines, along with like the Doom 3. One of those games that really changed how games looked in general. So this does have a bit of a slightly older feel. It's slightly older than the actual game itself is, I think. It wouldn't surprise me to discover that they'd done a lot of work before moving over to the Source engine and just reused a lot of their assets. What are you going to wait? You have. I'm going to be mean. This is a vampire game, but I have to be careful not to kill people. And that can be, I mean, there's stuff in there that kind of, I'm going to go into an interior space for a second. There are places where I think that's pretty apparent, and areas like this, I think really kind of show that off. I think this is a very well done level in that kind of slightly older style. But I think what you can do with like the Source engine and the Doom 3 engine and later engines like that. And when I say later, I don't mean hugely later. I mean a little bit later, like really stuff released in the same year as this was released. You get much better looking levels than this. Having said that, the design style is generally very good within that. The aesthetics are good. It's just a little dated. Oh, I can grab things. Oh, that's interesting. I'm trying to work if that's giving me anything useful. Or can I just take that apart to make it easy for me to get down again? Oh, yeah. It is an object, but I don't seem to be able to grab it. There is some physics going on here, which, you know, was a big thing of the Source engine. But not very much. There's not a huge amount. You can pick some things up and throw them around. Like this. I can pick this up. I can throw it like that. But it doesn't. It never became actual part of the game, as it did with Half-Life 2. So that can be a factor. But having said that, this is a really, really, really solid game, with really good writing and plot lines, and the voice acting is quite good. The characters are really interesting. There are plots and stories and reveals that are just fantastic. That is indeed a whole lot of crab devil. So I would recommend. I got this off Good Old Games for not very many pennies. So I would recommend, if you like this kind of thing, go to Good Old Games and pick it up. I think I think it's really great. The one thing I'd say, if there's one other thing, other than the kind of slightly dated look, which I don't mind too much, is combat is a bit clunky. Maybe it's a bit clunky just because I'm not very good at it, and maybe I'm not very good at it because my character's not very good at it yet. Combat insists on you being on a third person. So if you're the kind of person who doesn't like first person games, you prefer third person, you can always play this game third person if you want. But combat I found to be a bit clunky. Maybe that's just because I'm not very good at it. Who knows? I've only just discovered that holding down the arrow keys means you attack slightly differently. And that can be important. But, you got your vampire abilities to compensate for... I like the way no one cares about me doing this. Whee! So I would recommend, if you can pick it up on Good Old Games, or anywhere else for that matter, and you'll be able to probably get it quite cheaply because it is a relatively old game. Doesn't require much in the way of anything to really run, because it's obviously from the past. I think you should do that, and I think you'll have a great many hours of joy. It should have a lot of replay value, if for no other reason that there are the different clans each have their own powers, and so how you solve the problems in the game is going to be different. I have heard that specifically the Malkavian vampires are the ones who are all crazy. Well, the music's getting a bit obnoxious actually. And apparently the playthrough for Malkavian is completely different to how you play it to everybody, anyone else. So that may be a fun thing to do. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I think you should pick it up, and that is my recommendation. So I'm going to say thanks very much for watching. Do hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying these videos. Come visit Neil Dice at neildice.com. We're also available on Facebook and Twitter. You can find links to both of those in the... put my knife away. You can find links to those in the show notes. And until next time, have a vampy day, but don't get